sold. Woo!
Calling all bidders. In this episode, we've got even more high-stakes auction action. Disney legend Bob Gurr gives us some Ride Car 411.
There was only 2 left at the end of the first week.
We'll get a few high-flying spit takes.
We're hawking loogies off of the Skyway buckets.
And hit the high seas.
These skulls, as well as this key, it's from the movie.
Before everything goes to the birds. Roll the thing! Give me 25, 25, give me 20, 25, 25, 30, do I hear 35? Got it, 35, 35, 40, and a 40, and a 40, all good. Let's put another item Sold!
Are you ready to bid on some Disney memorabilia?
With day one of this incredible 3-day Disneyland memorabilia auction on the books.
Hang on. Whoa, we have 65.
Very first item started off with a bang.
Boom, sold for 50.
Joel McGee's mega-size collection is already cashing in,
Boom, sold for 7,500.
but far less than expected.
45,000 I had, sold at 44,000.
When enjoy.
I'm really disappointed in the beginning of the auction. We did a little less than what I was hoping, a lot less than I was hoping, actually.
Is this the last one for tonight?
Now, don't get me wrong, 452 grand is a lot, but it ain't 5 mil, which means they still have a long way to go if they hope to get back on track.
A lot of people talk to me about what is this collection going to bring, and there's some big numbers out there, but I also pay some big numbers for this stuff. So I just want to do a little better than breaking even.
Well, good morning, everybody. You ready for big auction day number 2?
But I believe in an auction like this because there's so many pieces, so many big pieces coming up.
Big, small, medium, you name it, because there's 550 more amazing items up for auction on day 2.
Tiki birds, the moving van, and so hopefully that'll, get things moving.
And then I know we have a lot of internet bidders, probably 4 times what we normally have.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a big day.
Yeah.
We've even got a Disney legend here today, Mr. Bob Gurr. Wow.
Now, before you get too excited, Bob's not the collectible here. But many of the ride cars he designed for Disneyland are. As one of Walt Disney's original Imagineers, Bob was the brains behind the Main Street Model T, the Skyway tram car, the Haunted Mansion Doom buggies, and who could forget, the absolutely iconic Autopia ride cars, which Joel and us are about to hear all about.
Okay, the history of Autopia started with a progression of designs. Mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 13 years later, I finally had a chassis that was bulletproof. And that came out in 1968.
These same chassis have lasted through millions of rides.
Yes.
We're talking 40 years. I mean, I would say it's timeless.
Timeless? Absolutely. But if they left it up to the park guests, they'd probably all be piled high on a trash heap somewhere. When the Autopia ride hit the roadways in 1955, someone, thought it would be fun to make the first Mark I cars without bumpers. And it wasn't pretty.
We had 40 cars built. There was only 2 left at the end of the first week.
Design was still a major issue, sure, but up until then, people had also become accustomed to using amusement park bumper cars as a battering ram. And, well, change is hard. So over the next 10 years and many more ill-fated fleets, Disneyland added a spring-loaded bumper, a guardrail to the track, and utilized Bob's far more forgiving Mark VII chassis. Not quite sure why people wanted to smash up these cute little cars, but hopefully one lucky bidder will make up for it by spending a lot of money on this Mark VIII model today. Don't we owe it to Bob? Now let's get him back to that auction floor so we can start taking some bids. Meanwhile, I'll get cozy again in my mustard-colored box. I'm in there, I swear.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Autopia Tomorrowland Speedway vehicle is going to be...
I think for Bob, being around this excitement for something that he helped create, to see people appreciating it 60, 70 years later, it probably really feels good to him. It's great to see him.
He wanted to know why you keep selling his pieces.
That's right, yeah, I know. He wants a cut, actually, yeah.
Hit 30,000, 30, 30, give it here, 32, 555.
Well, maybe I wouldn't get my hopes up on that one, but if he did, he'd probably get a whole lot of money because these Autopia ride cars are a-going fast and well over the estimates.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Sold for 85,000, sold for 85,000.
Hey, that is a lot of money.
This 1917 Model T Ford truck.
The truck! I sat in this!
remember? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the park.
I want an even 100, give 100,000, then I want 100. 100,000, what about there? Yes! I got 100, 110, 120, 20 go here, 120,000. Yes! Sold it for 120. Sold.
$120,000. Who bought this? Leno? Did you buy that? I mean, the guy does have a lot of cars, but I bet he doesn't have one of these. Ah, the Skyway car. How I've missed thee. The Skyway! And only 1,000 rats have pooped in it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm like 75% sure they cleaned all that out before the auction. Oh, hey, you gotta go somewhere. First opened in 1956, for nearly 40 years, the iconic Skyway buckets gave families a bird's eye view of the Disneyland park below. Unfortunately, it also gave them a great opportunity to act very badly. Never would you drop loogies on the people below you.
When I rode the Skyway buckets, the temptation was very great.
I don't think I ever spit off of it, no. People were talking loogies off of the Skyway buckets. That's why no one can do it anymore.
I've heard spitballs and amongst many other things.
There were a lot of people who were trying to join, let's call it the Mile High Club.
More like 1/880th of a Mile High Club there, Tom. Fortunately, anyone with a guilty conscience can breathe easy. The official Disney explanation for why the ride was removed was metal fatigue and stress cracks on the Matterhorn tower supports, and not large, near-lethal loogies. A problem that fortunately disappeared when it was finally dismantled. The only question now is where this Skyway car will look best.
Well, you know what? I'll just put it in the living room. Why not?
I think it clashes with the rug.
What is the opening reveal, right? $50,000, folks.
Wow. Oh, it looks like the Skyway car bidding is about to go sky high. And Bob can barely contain himself.
13,000.
Auction day 2 is off to the races for Joel and the Van Eatons, thanks to a few Bob Gurr originals.
Sold at 40,005. Sold it for 120.
But now it's time for the Skyway car, which Bob Gurr designed and signed to take flight. And from the looks of it, the Skyway's the limit.
50,000, I'll take it.
$50,000, folks. And the train's on the tracks.
It's not a train, Kenny.
To be able to get 55, thank you. It's 70,000 bids, 75. Want to get in here and sold it to you, $70,000.
Sold for 70 Gurr and. So far, Bob's designs have inched the money meter forward, bringing our sales total to over $767,000, nearly double what day one made alone. Sadly, none of which goes to Bob. Now, it's important to remember, even if you don't have the budget or the room for the big ticket items here today, the auction is still chock full of Disneyness that won't break the bank too badly.
Most people are going to be more interested in those smaller items because they're within reach.
But to get 3 1/4, sold 325.
I've got 175 way in the back of the room. Sold 175. Kevin, your man. 950. Sold for $900 bids.
Here's 971. Here's another record for you. 50.
I'm gonna leave with something today.
Now that's a winning attitude.
275 to the bid. 275. Anybody else? Last call. 250. 75 and a half here. Sold 250. Been trying hard. All right, I'm glad you got it.
Good to have a little piece of history.
It certainly is.
The great thing about souvenirs for a lot of collectors is it might have been a piece that they had when they were a kid. So now's a chance to get one that's in great condition.
Which is exactly what Van Eaton photographer David Knox hopes to do today.
It's the same key that we had as a kid.
No, that's not Grandma's key.
No! Uh-oh.
Hers is all worn out. She used it over and over and over again. That one's still shiny.
Okay, fine. So it's not the same exact key, but how did David's grandma get hers?
I was 6, and a cast member came up to us and said to my mom, "Would you like to participate in a radio show?"
She won the grand prize, a golden key, which would get you and your family into Disneyland forever.
For the rest of her life, she could just walk up to the main gate and they would just usher her in. That was such a treasure.
Exchange that key in for a golden pass, but they definitely weren't the first lucky ducks to get a lifetime of free rides. That honor goes to none other than Dave McPherson, the first person in line at Disneyland's grand opening way back in 1955. See, it pays to be punctual. Now, obviously a lot has changed since then. Namely, there's way more Disney theme parks all around the world, which means the bearer of a golden pass gets lifetime access to any one of those parks whenever they want until the day they die. And I'd say the Knoxes are in pretty good company because these days they're only passed out to Disney legends, US presidents, and other sitting heads of state. But if you can't get elected president, don't worry. Try making nice with legends Oprah Winfrey or Mark Hamill, and maybe they'll let you borrow theirs. Now may the bids be with you. And hopefully David can snag this symbolic golden key just like the one his grandma had. Only not as worn out.
Oh my God. 450, sold for 425, put him on number.
Ah, sorry, David. But don't forget, his whole family still gets into Disneyland for free. I think they'll be okay. And I think it's high time we see how much some of the cool stuff we teased you with finally takes in.
Sold at $7,500. Sold it for $20,000.
Sold $50,000, all right.
Well, that should brighten Joel's day a bit and move the needle forward $77,000 more. Now, speaking of bright, this amazing illuminated electrical parade sign originally sat in the window of a Main Street storefront to help promote the park's nightly show. First started in 1972, the parade ran off and on for nearly 50 years. It featured thousands of synchronized lights, costume characters, and an iconic synthesizer soundtrack. But there was a method to this illuminated madness. It always began just before closing, which means families would stay longer, spend more money, and help keep the parade lights on. Literally, all 500,000 of them. This sale should help keep the Van Eaton's lights on a little longer, too.
I'm gonna place the first bid. I just placed the first bid. I was outbid.
3,000 on the in the audience, 8,000 on the internet, 9,000, 10,000 internet, 11,000 got it. 12.
My name's Running Bear Ramirez. I'm a member of the Samuel Band of Mission Indians. I'm a big collector of things and curiosities.
And I was here to make sure he didn't spend too much money on it.
We'll see how that goes. But will Running Bear be able to outbid a persistent anonymous online bidder?
19, be creative.
We'll find out in a minute.
Right here in the audience, 8,000 on the internet, 10,000 internet, 11,000 got it, $12,000.
Day 2 continues to dazzle at the Van Eaton's auction of Joel McGee's mega-sized Disneyland memorabilia collection. But right now, Running Bear's hoping not to be outbid on this stunning Main Street electrical parade sign.
At 16,000 telephone, internet 10, 16,000, 19, be creative.
Let's see if his method worked.
This is the stuff that's really fascinating to me because there's a real psychology behind this.
At 20, did he spook you, internet?
That sign was one of the things we had our eye on.
20,000 if you want.
Back in 20.
So for 19.
You know what? I gotta give it to them.
For 19.
One of the first things Frank and I did together was the Main Street Electrical Parade. And to be able to have something like that in our house is a great memory.
That's what brought you here then, right?
Actually, no, what brought us here were the salt and pepper shakers. I'm a member of the Samuel Band of Mission Indians. We help with consulting on different aspects of appropriation. Coming from a Native American background, helping others is something I've always wanted to do. And now that I'm able to do it, I'm glad that I can.
Sold for $850.
Very, very cool. Congrats again, guys. Well, it looks like the rest of the auction is smooth sailing from here. Uh-oh. I may have spoken too soon. There be pirates afoot.
As a kid, Pirates was the ride for me. Honestly, yeah, oh yeah. Going down that thing and into this big open area where the two ships were fighting and you felt like you were outside was incredible, yeah. I would put that in the top 5 in the park still. And that's been going since '68, so it's been around quite a while.
Avast ye scallywags and lend an ear. Did ye landlubbers know the Pirates of the Caribbean ride is so realistic it once fooled a fire department? Well, it did. Though it would be the last Disneyland attraction overseen by Walt Disney himself before his passing in 1966, he'd hoped to make it as authentic as possible. $8 million later, the ride was a treasure trove of audio animatronics, gunsmoke, and a lot of fire effects with just a little too much fire. In fact, the ride's fire features were so realistic when it opened in 1967, Anaheim's fire chief ordered the effects be wired to automatically shut off in the event of a real fire, so firefighters would be able to tell the difference. Now that's hot. Of course, a lot of fans came searching today for Pirates booty, and shiver me timbers, they're gonna have to pay top doubloons for it.
Here's a Pirates Caribbean candle holder at $200.
But we may have found the right couple to join our bidding crew.
Welcome to our Disney house.
Now, when I say the Vistalis love Disneyland, I mean they really love Disneyland. In fact, I dare you to find an inch of this place that isn't draped in Disneyland memorabilia.
People come in all the time, they go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe your husband allows you to do this to your house. I say, I allow my husband to do this to my house.
We started dating. We took a trip to Disneyland.
We took a trip to Disneyland, but
Yeah.
I didn't think he was this crazy.
Guilty as charged.
And while it's clear they love everything Disney, it's Pirates of the Caribbean that really gets Gary going.
The key is from the movie, as well as the skulls. All screen-used movie props.
And there's always room for one more, which is why today at the auction, Gary will be one of those persistent and now not so anonymous phone bidders making a play for another little piece of Pirates.
Yes. 6,000, here we go.
How about 55 instead?
Will Gary be able to bring home the bounty? Or will he be left looking longingly out his kitchen window?
Okay, here we go.
I mean, it is a pretty nice lawn. Hey, can I bid on Gary's lawn? Day 2 of Joel McGee's Disneyland memorabilia auction has seen plenty of big-ticket items sell.
Sold it for $120. Sold!
Not quite near what Joel was hoping for. Fortunately, there's still plenty of lower-price items to help pick up the slack. But they'll need the remaining items to overperform if they want to steady the ship. Gary Vistali was hoping to hook another piece for his impressive Pirates of the Caribbean collection.
Okay, here we go.
But it looks like he may be in for a high-priced fight on the high seas.
5,000.
Oh my gosh!
6,000, here we go.
Now let's see if Gary can get it.
Yes. On a bunch of Z5. It's 6,065 and 7 here.
$7 grand.
It's 75 and 75, 8 grand. They're gonna price it for us. Hey, 85 and 80. Yes. 999 and not give it here to 9 and 95. At 10, 10, yeah, now 11. Nope. I know. 11, sold for 10,000. Not a sold here. 10, put them on number.
Oh well, another one down. There'll be another opportunity down the road.
That's the spirit, Gary. And it's this very spirit that helped him and his wife win a few other items, like this super cool Captain Nemo souvenir hat, a Jungle Cruise ride sign, and a spectacular piece of signage from the Disneyland Resort.
You win some, you lose some, but there will be other auctions.
And plenty of chances to add much more cool stuff like this to their collection. Congrats, you two! Win or lose, the auction goes on. And then it happens. Of all the Disney auctions and all the home goods stores in all the world, this lady and her bird walk into ours.
So there's a woman walking around the auction with a bird around her neck. I'm not quite sure if she's a bidder or what, but somehow she's here.
I'd say she's more of a birder, Janine, but I like puns.
I saw her out of the corner of my eye. I did not realize that that was a real bird.
Well, to be fair, it's not just any bird, Joel.
This is Beachy. He rides horses, he rides tortoises, he goes to the ballet, but he loves this the most.
Maybe, but it looks like there's another branch Beachy's bird dogging.
Bringing your pet too close to those birds, which we're hoping are going to sell for a lot of money, I'd rather not have any accidents happen, let's say.
Well, Beachy may or may not have pooped on the enchanted tiki birds, but I can't imagine it would bring down the price. Either way, we're about to find out.
I mean, they're Tiki Room birds. They're like one of the most iconic fixtures of classic Disneyland.
Looking for the opening bid of 20,000. Yes, we've got 20,000. And now 20.
But they were so fun to watch. I mean, you had them all singing in chorus together, and I can't get that I'm a tiki 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 tiki
Tiki, 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 tiki room.
They're also the first audio animatronic attraction ever featured in any Disneyland park. Pretty boastworthy, if you ask me.
And 35, give me 35, give me 45, guys.
It's important to note, all of these bids are coming from the phones and online, but the feeling on the floor is still absolutely cuckoo.
Today's the day. The auction's not yet. 100 and 100 and 100.
Oh my God, it's $100,000.
Would they be 105 one time?
Yeah! Someone's gonna have a very snazzy, expensive tiki bar in their house.
I need 110.
I got it.
Yeah! 115. Yeah!
I wonder if Stamos is bidding on these. John, are you bidding on these?
Need it.
There, 120. Yes. Last call. Sold for 120. Sold.
Yeah! Zero gravity. I can't even believe it.
Congratulations, honey.
120,000. It was a great number and an even better way to cap off the evening.
You folks are wonderful. Have a great, safe night, and we'll see everybody back here tomorrow morning.
Another day, another dollar. 1.53 million of them, bringing our total to just under 2 million. Unfortunately, still not enough to get back on pace to reach Joel's $5 million goal with only one auction day left. But we also can't completely close the door on day 2 just yet, because we've saved all 66 Haunted Mansion auction items for their very own spooky episode. But will they be able to scare up enough money to move the money meter closer to 5 million?
That's a lot of money.
Find out next time on a very special Haunted Mansion edition of Up for Auction, if you dare.
There's your mommy.
Are you my mother?
Stop. Hey.
Can I go to the other side again? Oh, that's great. There we go. You're done.
Do we get anything?
He pooped, right?
You know what else? You could put him here and then he can't.
Oh, no, we're done.
Okay.
Very much done. Okay.